Welcome to Beans and Breakdowns, a podcast dedicated to bridging the gap between specialty coffee and the heavy music community. On this episode, I'm joined by Matt Dennard, drummer for the band Frozen Soul. So grab a fresh cup of coffee and wake the fuck up! Well, what is going on, Caffeinated Crew? Today I'm joined by Matt, drummer of the band Frozen Soul, the iciest death metal band in the world.
Thanks for having me, Grayson.
Thanks so much for hanging out. You've got a lovely contemporary background, hanging out in the hotel. Looks great.
Yeah, at the Marriott Courtyard in Killeen, just outside of Austin. Got some family that lives out here.
Hey, go Longhorns, right?
My dad grew up an Aggies fan, actually, but you know, I actually like UT basketball a lot. I'll lean Longhorns on that side of it, but you know, I didn't have a major college that I went to or anything, so I didn't really have anyone connected to college-wise that I just have to root for. So I'm kind of all over the place with that, you know. I like whoever's hot at whatever time, you know, or who's interesting to watch at whatever time.
Bandwagon fan?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. For college, you could say that.
Well, if you go Aggies, I know that this is heresy amongst my southeastern Texas family, but if you go Aggies, you're part of the SEC, which is great because that's where I'm from.
Oh, yeah.
My family is all, you know, UGA, Georgia Bulldogs, go Dogs. And then I grew up in high school and college being an Auburn fan because I went to school in Birmingham. So War Eagle, SEC is great. It's the greatest conference in football.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Georgia's look like they got a pretty damn near professional team out there watching the championship game.
Listen, I'm just happy that we're taking. I was ashamed to be a Georgia fan for a while growing up. It just, you know, the Go Dogs thing can get a bit old, but I'm happy that they're taking the clout away from Alabama. So,
yes,
because for a long time, Nick Saban was doing something great out there, and it seems like it's kind of tapered off, and Georgia's getting the residuals that it deserves now.
It definitely doesn't seem as intimidating or factor as it used to. That's for sure.
I remember 5-10 years ago, that was a dynasty was the word associated with it. So maybe we've seen the end.
Yeah, maybe so. But just keep it up. You know, it looks like that Georgia team's got a really good future going.
Oh yeah. Well, we're not here to talk about football. We're here to talk about coffee. We're going to talk about music, specifically some metal, maybe some hardcore. Who knows? What do you got going on your side, drink-wise?
I'm drinking water right now. The thing is, I love coffee and everything, but I don't know. Like, I kind of burnt a fuse on it, I feel like. I used to work at Starbucks in college for a little bit, and I think that I don't know, just overtook a lot of caffeine. And so they give you like a free pound of coffee every week whenever you work there, and you get free drinks on the clock all the time.
Right.
And I think I just blew a caffeine fuse there. Until recently, I continued to just still drink it all the time. But I've been kind of trying to watch it a little bit. Caffeine's really addicting, and it can lead to irregular heart movements and things like that. It's not a great thing to drink coffee all the time. In fact, I'll recommend to the listeners out there, probably just drink a little bit less coffee. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
I keep a standard 2.
That's probably good.
Yeah.
That's probably not bad. I'm not going to deny that there's good things and there's good benefits to coffee. You know, like people who drink coffee every day are 30 to 60% less likely to get type 2 diabetes or Parkinson's. So that's a good benefit to it. But you know, like it can lead to heart palpitations. It can lead to disruption of sleep and things like that. which all leads to fatigue, which leads to not playing metal as good.
Right.
Yeah. you gotta keep it sharp. You gotta keep grinding, you know. But a little cup of coffee in the morning is not a bad thing. I've been steering away from it a little bit lately.
Well, I definitely agree. Moderation is key when you're dealing with any kind of substance. Caffeine is definitely a substance. I will not say that it's like, it is a drug, but it's not, you're not gonna, I guess you could OD on caffeine. Never mind. You're right. Anyway, moderation is key. So I usually do in the morning when I get to work, I make a cup of coffee, and they're not big. It's a 250 milliliter. So 1 cup in the morning, and I usually do 1 cup after lunch about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, just to kind of like mellow out to get through the afternoon. But it's not like
trying to get the second wind going a little bit.
And it's honestly not to like caffeinate myself so much as it's more about the action of making the coffee and then having that. It's like a comfort for me to have at work, like while I'm trying to do work.
Yeah, man. So I got into that phase while I was just kind of like been at home doing stuff or been out running errands and stuff like that. And I realized, I was drinking like 4 cups of coffee a day, like 3 or 4 cups a day, and just not even like paying attention to it for no reason, just not even realizing it, I'm just like, oh, okay, I think this might be something leading to something bad. I should probably just it'd probably be good without drinking 4 cups a day for a while. I still have my coffee throughout, here and there during the week. But, I'm not as avid of a coffee drinker as I used to be.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that, 4 or 5 cups a day that I've heard some people drinking, that if they're especially Starbucks sized cups of coffee, you need to take a step back. We're here for you, we love you. Go ahead and reduce that by about half at least.
Yeah.
Because that's,
and if anyone else is doing the same thing or notices the same trends, I would recommend to the listeners, just cut back on that a little bit.
Just a bit. Yeah. Slowly but surely. You don't need that much caffeine, I promise. Just a little bit. So yeah, you do have a great point. It does have health benefits, but it can also have some cons to that.
It really just comes from the caffeine, it just comes from the caffeine itself.
Yeah. But like you said about Parkinson's and diabetes, my family has a terrible history of heart disease and Parkinson's. So when I did read that study that you referenced, I was like, okay, well, it seems like I'm on a good path. I drink a healthy amount of coffee. I don't go overboard. So I guess it can't lead to anything worse than what my family already has.
Yeah. Just like we said, moderation's probably the best thing for any stimulant, I would say.
Yeah. Any substance.
Coffee's a very addicting one.
Yes. I agree with you there. Well, I was going to say, did you have a favorite drink that you get when you're at a coffee shop?
I really just like, I don't know, lattes and stuff like that.
Do you have a favorite flavor of latte?
Oh, I really like stuff in the fall time, I like that pumpkin kind of shit,
Oh yeah.
I like all that stuff in the fall. I mean, that's the time I get flavored stuff. Any other time, I just get some milk and espresso, and just kind of keep it basic. Good espresso is really good to me, and that's something I don't have that much. I have a regular cup of coffee here and there, but I used to do red eyes where I just kind of like throw in a shot of espresso with it. Now I keep them separated, I just have an espresso drink when I want that,
I found that having a cortado, a lot of people like this as well, but just doing a cortado when you want an espresso drink, because it's just a great size coffee, equal parts milk, equal parts espresso, and you can sip on it, enjoy it, and then you don't have to go overboard with, the milk and everything like that. So I've been on a big cortado kick recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to try that then. I have not had that. So what is that? Is that 4 shots of espresso then?
No, it's just 2 shots of espresso. So it's about 4 ounces of espresso. And then or is it 2 ounces of espresso, 2 ounces of milk?
Oh,
it's like the
yeah, that's
perfect
not too bad.
size. No, it's great. It's smaller than a cappuccino, a little less milk, and it lets the espresso kind of come through the milk better.
Nice. Yeah, I do about 2 shots of espresso max, like when I do that typically. So yeah, that sounds like a perfect drink.
It's wonderful. Try it out. I think it's really good. I've recently just got on that kick. A lot of my friends have been doing cortados and posting photos of them, and I'm like, I'm gonna do that. They look so nice. They're so cute. So
I'm gonna have to try it out, man. Thanks for the recommendation.
Hell yeah. You're a Texas man.
Yes, I am.
A true Texan.
Yes, I am. Born and raised.
Outside of playing brutal, old school death metal, what is your favorite Texas activity?
I mean, you could probably tell by how we kicked this off. You know, I really like going to ball games a lot. I as far as Dallas Cowboys games, you know, I mostly just watch that at home, and that's kind of a cultural thing at home in town anyways, is just have friends get together and watch games and stuff like that, or get together with your family, you know. That's a typical thing here. But, you know, I like going to Rangers games and stuff like that, Dallas Stars games, Dallas Mavericks games. I like going to all that stuff. And really just being around in the area, getting good food.
What you got to tell me what your favorite, what's your favorite dish?
Really just the Tex-Mex, I'd say. Just anything Tex-Mex, some good fajitas and stuff like that out here. Man, in Texas, you get the best of all that, I feel like. Because we've gotten Tex-Mex and tacos and stuff in the north and the northeast and everything like that. It just general on the East Coast, it's just not as good. It I don't know. There's something about the flavor that it just kind of lacks that we have here. And I don't know. I think it's just the produce that we have. I think we got big fat cows here, you know? So we get a lot of good meat made out of that. And just a lot of good produce and food in general. It's Texas ranks as probably my top state in the United States for food in general, and you can't go wrong with Mexican food or Tex-Mex here. Pretty much anywhere you go, it's done right. It's gonna taste good, no matter how much you pay for it.
Oh yeah, that's 100% in agreement. As somebody from Georgia, I have to say, food wise, Texas is on top. I'm so happy that I married a woman that grew up in Houston. So whenever we go back to visit family, you get the Tex-Mex. You go to the taqueria, you get the good Mexican food, you get barbecue, all of it delicious.
Oh yeah. Houston's great too. It's the most that's actually the most culturally diverse city in Texas. So you're going to get authentic, legit food from like anything you think of, you know. There's so much good Korean food out there too.
Oh yeah.
So much good stuff that you wouldn't expect to find. Yeah, Houston's kind of under the radar. A lot of people from Dallas, there's kind of like an unspoken rivalry or something like that. That sort of goes on between people from Houston and Dallas. But I love them both, you know, and I see the good things that both places have to offer. And, you know, I found common ground. And yeah, one good thing is, Houston's got a lot of good options for food. It's definitely not short on that.
I've been to a few shows in Houston too, and they go off. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, they do. They're pretty rowdy. Man.
Yeah, I don't know if you know the band Omerta.
I've not checked them out.
They were thrash crossover a few years ago, and they kind of changed their sound up. They're more like that new metalcore sound, where they use a lot of like samples, and it's really cool. Very, very Houston music. But I was talking to their singer, and he was telling me about his first show experience in Houston and how he was like, I thought people were beating each other up. And he's like, I thought that's how everybody in the U.S. moshed. I'm like, no, it's built different.
Oh, no, they're just dancing. They're not fighting.
No, but also
sometimes they are fighting.
Yes, but they go harder. And I don't know, it seems this way in Dallas as well, but Texas is just, y'all are built different. It's the moshing is on another level. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? So it's the moshing's bigger. The bands are heavier. It's that's why there's so much amazing death metal coming out, I think, of North Texas as well.
Yeah, it's definitely got definitely versed in heaviness and heavy music, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Whether it came from hardcore or metal or just people listen to a lot of Pantera or something like that. It's definitely something that's seasoned Texas well, I think.
Politics aside, we must agree that Pantera had such a positive influence musically on Texas as a whole when it comes to that scene. It's crazy.
Yeah. And so we practiced for a while in Arlington, is where we were kind of based, and that's where they were from. So that was just kind of like all over the place, like everywhere. Chris and Michael both work at Guitar Center. So there's like one of Dime's old like Washburns in there, like on display actually. And there's like cool memorabilia all over the place, because that was where they shopped, was that Guitar Center location. And just Dallas in general, Texas in general, it's kind of like, it's an influence that's recognized, and it's definitely sort of all over the place. You hear people talk about them at bars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Tell stories that, a lot of them probably aren't true, or they're probably over exaggerated, but it's a testament to how big their influence was here and how much they did touch people everywhere here. Just the music itself,
Yeah, I definitely, and you can still hear it today. I mean, whether it's Frozen Soul, Creeping Death, there's a lot of bands in that vein that still carry that influence. Even in the hardcore scene, there's a lot of that crossover, and it's super cool because I think culturally it's just stimulated like that Texas sound, quote unquote. So, shout out to Pantera. Not so much, I mean, politically you can agree or disagree, but musically we have to say that they have done so much for Texas as a whole.
Yeah, I think we can say that for sure.
Yeah. Before we move from the food, kolaches. I know y'all don't get them so much in Dallas maybe, but what's your favorite, if you have a favorite flavor of kolache?
Oh man, I always get the strawberry cream cheese one. It just tastes like a strawberry cheesecake to me, and I always get something different whenever I go to West and I go to the Czech stop. Because that's kind of a staple thing for people who travel from Dallas Fort Worth to Austin or San Antonio for shows. Is you go down 35, it's a straight shot, but on the way there's Czech stop, which is in West, and it's definitely a big place. People stop for sandwiches and kolaches and stuff. And, it's a really, really good place. I always get a strawberry cream cheese one when I go there, and like if it's the fall time, I get that pumpkin cream cheese one for sure too. Like I can't pass that one up.
Oh man,
a sucker for all the pumpkin stuff.
All right, we gotta stop talking about food. My mouth is watering. I haven't eaten anything all day, and so now I can think about is strawberry cream cheese kolaches. Well, that's awesome. You playing drums in Frozen Soul. You became an SJC artist last year.
Yes.
What's your kit setup? Give me the deets.
So I designed that kit for myself. It's got it's got this sparkle lacquer kind of finish on it, and it's iridescent. So like if the light shines on it, it looks kind of violet, and it looks sort of icy if the light shines it on another way too. So it's got like a dual effect with the colors. But I mean, yeah, I added an extra floor tom to my acrylic setup that I had, because I just played with two toms. I played with a 12-inch rack tom and a 16-inch floor tom. This one I upped it to a 13-inch rack tom. I still have the 16-inch floor tom, but I also added an 18-inch floor tom. And so for all those like real power parts of those hits, that boom that we're looking for, that's where I go to for that. Yeah. And it's been really helpful for achieving that. And I think people will hear it on the new record too, because I definitely took advantage of using that and brought that kid into the studio, and stoked to see the response for it.
If you mix an 18 correctly, it sounds like a sub drop.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It does. It's got all that low end, man.
It's beautiful. I've even heard ideas where you take, you know, that Yamaha sub kick or whatever, like that you put on the outside of the kick drum. It looks like a snare drum. So I've heard an audio engineer talk about putting one underneath an 18, and then you mic the top and blend the two together so that you still get the head attack, but then you get the sub attack from underneath the 18.
That is interesting.
So
and it makes sense.
Yeah. So next time y'all can put a rider out when y'all headline a tour and y'all are putting out y'all's tech rider, you should take a sub kick on tour and mic your 18 underneath with it.
I actually might recommend that.
You should do
that.
it.
Is going to sound cool. I might do that. Thank you for that tip.
Your audio engineer is going to be like, what the hell is wrong with you? That's great. So the kick, is the kick a 24? It looks like a 24.
It's a 22. It's the same size that I've kind of always played on. I maybe played on a friend's 24 that was like an old like 1970s drum kit in old band a long time ago, you know, like I played on that. I actually really loved the sound of those old like 24 kick drums too. Like
the shallow ones too, like a 16 or a 14.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's just kind of unmatched, and you can hear it in those recordings, like from older rock bands from the 70s and stuff like that. You can definitely hear the difference in that kick drum sound.
It's a punch, just a lot of punch. So good.
Yeah. And it feels different too. It feels different to play at 24 also.
Yeah, it's almost like a quicker, you get like a quicker response. It's kind of odd.
Yeah.
I used to have I had a 24, 13, and 16, and I ditched it for a New School Star Classic. So it's a 22, 12, 16. And there's still things about the 24 that I miss that I can't get the sound out of the 22. And I'm like, should I just go back or should I don't know. I haven't decided.
I feel like with the previous setup, you probably had just more resonance in general, just with bigger drums, you know?
Yeah. And that's what, so you lose some attack, but you have to like compensate. And I had wood hoops, so it was just kind of not the right kit.
I thought about getting wood hoops on this SJC setup actually, but you know, I went with D-cast. I know that I've never had a problem with the die-cast hoops, so I went with that, and you know, it's turned out really fine. You know,
for tuning stability.
Yeah. Honestly, it helps with that, and I've had a much easier time tuning these drums than an acrylic drum set. I had a lot of problems tuning my rack tom on the acrylic drum set. I could just never really get it to sound good, and it's night and day with these. Definitely. So yeah, SJC, man, they really make it happen. They really bring to life whatever you tell them, and it's pretty badass.
What's the wood? Is it maple or birch?
It's maple.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds great.
Super bright, super punchy. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah.
And what's your ride cymbal? I love to know, death metal guys, what ride cymbal they're using.
So I use, and I discovered that this is actually kind of a popular choice, and I understand why, because I love it. I use a Peisty Rude Rain ride, the Dave Lombardo model. That's got a bell that is just so fucking clear and loud on it that I love. And even if something happens to it, I'm going to find, or if I have to replace it, I'm going to find another one of that. I think I'm just going to keep playing the Peisty Ride Rude Rain, because it is, that bell cuts through like no other. And that's a pretty integral part of our sound, I feel like. It's that belting that we have.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with somebody a while ago, and we were talking about how the snare is kind of the defining characteristic of most drummers. Like that's where you kind of hear their character. No matter what kit they're playing, that snare sound is still the kind of sound that they have. But I think your ride is your second most defining sound, especially when you use a lot of bell, because a bell can really make or break like that the gluing together of the drum mix. I feel like, especially in metal and slower parts, if you don't have that piercing kind of bell, then you're not going to stand out really.
And it's got to be blended well with the mix and everything too. It's definitely the ride cymbal is definitely a thing that's overlooked a lot. As far as like people listening, when people listen back and identify, pick things out, like such as musicians do when we listen to music. Yeah, the ride kind of, I feel like it does its job more when people are overlooking it because it's constantly being played, but it's not totally noticeable. But those bell hits, though, whenever that cuts through, that's when it makes all the difference. That's when people do notice what you're doing with it. So those are pretty important to get those down if you have those in your death metal songs.
I know that you're never gonna have to probably replace that ride, knock on wood, because it's literally one of the thickest cymbals you could ever buy, and it's impossible to crash on. So you're just gonna be blast beating with like the bow and then hitting the bell, never have to replace it.
Yeah, you don't get, that's actually a good point. You don't get very pronounced crashes out of that cymbal because it's so dense.
It's just so brassy, so thick. Yeah, that's great. Well, speaking of the bell defining and the bell tings and the pongs and the other onomatopoeias to define the sound of a bell, in Frozen Soul, you guys are working on a new album.
Yeah, it's actually done. It's just in post-production. It's getting wrapped up. Tentatively probably be out sometime in May or June is what it's looking like. Can't spoil too much about it, but I will say that Matt Heafy from Trivium worked with us on this and helped produce this record. And I think he helped lead us into a sound that's it's still our sound, but production, he really helped get production wise the sound that we were all kind of like looking for, and he helped us identify specific things to achieve that sound production wise. And I think people are going to think that this record sounds really, really good. It's just overall louder. And I think with the songwriting, we've just kind of we've upped the pace a lot, and I think people that's just some things I think people will notice right off the bat, like how loud it is, and I guess just pace wise how much we've really like brought it and come out the gates with.
So a bit faster, like sections, like up tempo, maybe some blasts.
Yeah, I think the whole thing in general, just the whole thing is faster paced
Nice.
when comparing it to like Cryptovice and stuff we've done previously.
Not to say, because I love Cryptovice and I love the EP. Like Frozen Soul, to me, when I listen to it, it stands out because I hear a lot of the kind of hardcore influence from some of the musicians, but it's such a well-rounded sound in that old school death metal genre. And then the vocals are always my favorite part because they're always they never go high. It's always that low, like guttural. It's amazing. So to hear that you guys are bringing in some quicker pacing, I'm very excited to hear that. You know, people love quick double bass. I don't know why, but non-drummers love it. I don't like playing super fast parts.
Yeah, it can get kind of exhausting sometimes. It can be very, very fun. It's very, very fun, but that's one thing I guess that people who don't drum listen to a lot, or that's one thing that people see a lot.
It impresses them.
Yeah. And it's one of the easier things to achieve if you just like practice double bassing a lot, which right before Frozen Soul, I almost had very, like no double bass experience, like at very minimal, still kind of trying to learn it, and I was still, learning it like while doing Crypt and still like adjusting my technique and stuff like that. But it's something that you don't lose. It's something that stays with you, the constant urge to practice and the constant urge to just like improve your skill at whatever you're doing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always finding like how to make your technique better, not just to increase your playing ability, but to also make it like easier on you while you're playing.
and to find a way to make it work for you. And I think that's what people struggle with sometimes. It's like there's not necessarily a right or wrong way to do it. It's if it works for you and you can get from point A to point B and still be comfortable and do it over and over again and rinse and repeat that, then, that's what works for you. And that's how you do it,
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I have a little bit more of a flat-footed approach to double basing, which I'm kind of loosening up and like doing some different things with. And it's leading to some different things, some interesting stuff that will probably come out on the third LP,
What were you playing before you were in Frozen Soul?
I've been in a bunch of other bands before Frozen Soul. Like for the most notable one, I guess, was Human Error, which was Chad's little brother, Josh, actually sang in that band. And he was just with us on this last tour. He was with us on this last tour as part of our stage crew and everything like that. Did that band. I did a band that sounded kind of like Dag Nasty and like Discord Records and stuff. It was called High Anxieties. And that band never really toured or anything like that. We might have played like one show in Austin, like out of town, but that was mostly local. Bunch of other bands in that just same vein. Human Error, the band that I had with Chad's little brother, we sounded kind of like Infest whenever we first started out. And we eventually started progressing more into like a death metal crossover kind of thing. And I guess that was my first time really like starting to play death metal was doing that, and Frozen Soul stems from, activities with that band and activities with End Times that were going on at the same time, which, End Times is still technically an active band, but we'll do something again pretty soon. We'll do something pretty soon here.
Yeah, when I had Trey on, I was asking him if End Times was gonna be something that happened more, and he was like, I have no idea.
Yeah, it will at some point. It's definitely not done.
But are you playing drums in End Times?
Yes, yeah. But like I said, the last thing that we actually did was a tour, which happened to be the first Frozen Soul tour. We just kind of combined forces and all took one van and all got in one band together and did like about a week or so. And that was the first Frozen Soul tour. And I was playing drums for End Times at that point. I didn't fully join Frozen Soul until like 3 or 4 months after that. Oh, actually. Yeah. So I was spectating on their first tour pretty much as it was. And a few months later, I started playing a few shows with them and just haven't stopped since then.
You just amalgamated your way into the band. It was never...
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm super excited to hear the new LP. It's, you guys always put out fucking brutal music. Also, the Wrecking Ball, when we were all locked away for those 2 years, when you guys did the virtual Wrecking Ball, I still go back and watch those sets because it's just so fun to like watch. And then the murder face, like the serial killer guy, like so good.
Oh yeah. Speaking of murderous content and things like that, this kind of goes back to the new album too. We should have a new music video out in a few weeks. Songs in it called Morbid Effigy, and that'll be the first thing that we drop for the new record. It should be out a few weeks from now. The video should premiere. Should the final cut for it done. But yeah, a couple weeks ago we got together and just we shot 2 music videos. Our friend Brendan, who flew out from New York, he did the videos for Crypt as well. We've got a little bit more of a budget to work with this time, so I think these are going to look really good, and people are going to be excited for these. We did 2 a few weeks ago out here, and then we're going to go to Buffalo and film like a double video after we get back from Europe.
Awesome.
We're leaving for in a few days, actually.
Yeah, I wanted to say you guys are headed to Europe with Dying Fetus and Nasty.
Yeah.
That's going to be sick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm very psyched for that. It's our first time in Europe. It's my first time in Europe. I think for the majority of the band, except Chris has been to Europe before with his old bands, like Unit 21. I know that they've been to Europe a couple of times, and it's been a while since he's been though, so I feel like it's probably for all of us is going to be just a totally new thing and a new experience. And we're going to be on a bus for this one. This is going to be really cool. I think we're showing around Europe the right way.
Oh yeah, especially like a band like Dying Fetus, which Dying Fetus seems to like you guys because they took y'all on a full U.S. tour, which I got to see you guys play in Montreal. It was amazing.
That show was great, man. Yeah, that was a fun.
Such a cool lineup too, with Dying Fetus headlining, but Chelsea Grin, Body Snatcher, and Undeath, as well as you guys. I mean, yeah, such a spectrum. And I grew up playing deathcore bands, which is why my double bass technique is always heel up, because that was always, the best deathcore drummers played heel up and sat really high, and now my life is ruined. But getting to see some of those songs from 2003, 2004, even though it's none of the same guys, was really, really cool.
Yeah, man. The Dying Fetus guys are really cool. They treat us really well, and they just have an appreciation for heavy music just sort of across the board. So you're seeing like a lot more mixed bill kind of tours from them, and I really love that. That's cool that they're doing that.
Yeah, it was cool that the second time last year that they came through Montreal was that mini kind of sparse shows that they played in smaller towns, but it was Dying Fetus, Terror, with Knocked Loose headlining, and that band Omerta from Houston was on the bill as well. So 4 completely different bands all playing at one show. So you would see the crowd kind of cycle around as like for who was there to see what. You had your hardcore crowd, you had your Dying Fetus death metal crowd with a lot of hardcore people also, because hardcore kids love Dying Fetus, and then Knocked Loose. It was so interesting.
And they have a good appreciation for hardcore too, which is cool. Yeah, they were covering like a Cold as Life song on a few shows on this last tour, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's like so much respect to them for that. That's crazy. Like most people, I feel like younger kids wouldn't even know what that was.
Yeah, and probably a lot of them didn't. They probably thought that was their own song or something like that. But those guys just have a thorough appreciation for heavy music all the way through, and the several veins that it comes out of, which is badass.
Yeah. So much respect to Dying Fetus. I think you guys are gonna have a great time in Europe with that gang, and Europe is gonna love Frozen Soul, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. I feel like we've been long overdue to go there, and COVID just really like screwed up everything with plans that we could have been over there for a lot earlier. So I've definitely heard that kids are still excited, and they're really looking forward to seeing us out there, and I hope that that's true, and I hope I see all that.
Yeah,
and I hope we reap the benefits of that for sure.
Y'all get to see a true European circle pit.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be my first time seeing it.
Yeah, so I think that they'll go crazy over that y'all's brand of Texas, like American old school death metal. I think that they're gonna go fucking crazy for that shit.
So we definitely have an appreciation for what they do with music too. Like we're all the big like Carcass fans and Bolt Thrower fans, stuff like that.
I can definitely see. I mean, it's an undeniable Bolt Thrower influence in Frozen Soul as well. I think last time I saw you guys, was it Trevor was wearing a Bolt Thrower shirt?
Oh man, yeah. Rest in peace, man. Which that's going to be a great run in the springtime whenever we go out with Black Dahlia Murder. We just announced that tour I don't know. We're going through Montreal on that one. I think that that show is on.
No, y'all are coming through.
April 22nd. It's at MTELUS, which I don't know much about that venue, but I know we're playing with Despised Icon at that show. So
that's so funny. But yes, I already have my tickets for that.
How is that venue? What's that venue like?
Enormous.
Nice.
So the venue y'all played in Montreal last time, the Corona Theater, I think MTELUS is probably double that size.
Nice. I probably imagine so with the Black Dahlia murder headlining that, just being their first thing coming back after a hiatus, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is going to be that tour is going to be received really well. I can't wait to go back to Montreal on that. You know, that was my very first time going through with Dying Fetus in the spring. One thing I actually learned, my friend Alan lives out there, and he's from Texas originally, but yeah, he was telling me that Montreal is actually an island.
It is.
Which I didn't know about that until I looked on the map, and oh wow, there's a very thin body of water like surrounding this whole thing. Technically,
it's like a river and it splits in two, basically. Cool. But it's the river that goes from Lake Ontario all the way to the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh geez, wow.
So that's what made that's where a lot of people made their wealth in Montreal when it was first established, as it was a trader colony with the river being there.
Definitely a city I can tell has a lot of rich history and influence. And it was kind of, not having been to Europe before, like Montreal and Quebec City were kind of like a little taste of what's to come for Europe to me. Yes. You know, seeing signs in French and stuff like that, and venues in French, and you're speak French everywhere. It was really cool. But you know, I'll be going to Paris and Lyon pretty soon, so I'll get to kind of compare how that is. You know,
that's gonna be awesome. I wish you guys all the best on that tour. I'm super excited. I know we're all super excited. Everybody that is a fan of Frozen Soul is excited. That's what I'm saying. We're all excited for the new LP. Looking for that video to drop soon. And it's Effigy.
The song would be called Morbid Effigy.
Morbid Effigy. That's it. Yeah.
It's a pretty morbid video too. So,
oh God.
I think people are gonna like it.
Nice. Well, we'll be looking out for that. Also, we'll be looking out for hopefully some accompanying merch coming soon, because Frozen Soul has fucking awesome merch. Crypt of Ass, or Encased in it's one of the greatest pieces of merch that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I love how just a little joke at practice that we just always like say and stuff, just sort of tongue in cheek, ended up turning into a fucking pair of booty shorts.
Yeah, I love the booty shorts. I love the jerseys, the hockey jerseys or hockey sweaters as well. Mm-hmm. Even though it sucks because Creeping Death beat y'all to the Dallas Stars rip. I
was gonna say, yeah, I would give them more credit for the jerseys because y'all thought that was really, really cool when they came out.
It was sick because it's also like Dallas is not like a hockey city, you know what I mean? Like the Stars are a great team, but I feel like a lot of people don't associate Dallas with hockey all the time. But to hear a Texas death metal band put out a hockey sweater is amazing.
It's old school though, because they used to, Dallas used to really be recognized for the Stars and hockey. When they won the Stanley Cup, that was a really big deal. I heard that Pantera actually played their championship party too, like out or whatever. Someone had told me that, or a few people had talked about that. It's another Pantera bar story that pops up a lot with guys.
Man, 3 shots in. I remember when Pantera played the Stanley Cup championship party. My uncle was there.
Dude, yep, that's exactly how it goes.
Yeah. All right, I think you've had too much wild turkey there, bud. Well, that's great. Like I said, all the best for you guys. I hope that y'all have a great time in Europe. And yeah, the LP. That's all. Enough said, right? Enough said.
It's going to be a banger, man. It's going to be a banger. This is a really big year for death metal releases coming out too. You know, like there's going to be a Dying Fetus coming out. The pace is already set really good with the Obituary record that came out, Dying of Everything.
Yep.
Like they started that record off with like I was reading an interview with Donald Hardy about it, and yeah, he was just saying like, oh man, I started that record off with the fastest song I've ever played. No, I gotta play it every single night now, like this late into our career. It was kind of funny, like thinking about that. Like, yeah, that's what you do. You know, you're doing it right if you do that way, because you just keep setting the bar higher for yourself.
Right.
The more you record, you know, and you know, that's what you want. That's a good thing. They set the tempo off really well with that record, and there's a lot more coming out this year that I'm looking forward to. And, I hope that we're you know, I hope that people are looking forward to ours as much as I am everything else.
Yes, very excited about the new release from Dying Fetus as well, but Frozen Soul. You guys just rank really high on my death metal list, because I don't listen to a lot of death metal. I listen to more like hardcore, metalcore. But when I do listen to like that old school stuff, I like you guys, Creeping Death, Fuming Mouth, which is also playing that tour with you guys and Black Dahlia Murder. So yeah, super excited, especially what Fuming Mouth has been through in the past year or two. To see them back on the road is really cool.
Yes, yeah, this is a really good thing for them. It's a really good thing for them to be a part of too, and I'm glad that they're on.
So super excited for the year coming up for you guys. I just have one last question for you before we go.
Okay.
What's your favorite city for beans and breakdowns?
Favorite city for beans and breakdowns. I mean, it's got to be Montreal, man. It's got y'all where this is based out of, because you know I had never done a podcast or heard of a podcast that you know dedicated as much talk to coffee as they do, you know, heavy metal, which is cool. It'll be Montreal, and I'll definitely make sure I've got time to get a cup of coffee when I go to Montreal. Make sure I can squeeze in a cup of coffee when I go to Montreal next.
We can even get you decaf if you want to avoid the caffeine side of it.
No, I think if I get, I'm gonna have to do it right. You know, I'm gonna have to get all the espresso, make a big red eye.
Yeah, there you go. Well, when I see you guys getting close, I'll make sure to reach out, and we'll see if we can get that cup of coffee.
All right, that sounds good, Grayson.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I hope you enjoy the time with your family over in Killeen, and that you guys have a great tour in Europe and a great 2023.
Hey, thank you. You too, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. Have a good one.
You as well. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to this episode of Beans and Breakdowns. I want to say thanks to Matt for hanging out on the podcast. Be sure to check out Frozen Soul on tour in Europe right now with Dying Fetus. They also have some tour plans for the US this year, as well as the LP, so be on the lookout for that. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. You can find out more information about the podcast by following us on Instagram at Beans and Breakdowns, or on the web at beansandbreakdowns.com. Madhouse is tomorrow. It starts tomorrow. So if you don't have your tickets, be sure to get those. Link is in the description. It's going to be a great time. Hope to see you there. Until next week, be sure to stay caffeinated and wake the fuck up.